My name is Virginia Uribe. I believe that people will know me best for the beginning of the program that I started called Project 10 for the Los Angeles Unified School District. I didn't really think much about what my future would be until I got to college. For women in those days, in the Catholic college, teaching or social work or nursing were really the three things open, which is why I chose teaching. You were constricted in Catholic circles. I mean, you could only think a certain way, and you were not allowed to depart from that because Catholic dogma kept you confined. When I first started teaching, I went to a school that was primarily Jewish. It was like night and day to me. I mean, here were brilliant young people who were not constricted in their thinking by dogma. And that was a very enlightening thing to me, and part of my evolution, I would say, from being kind of a strict Catholic to being a recovering Catholic. When I was well out of college, this is in the 60s now, there was a great fight that went on between the Immaculate Heart nuns and the Cardinal in Los Angeles. Cardinal McIntyre was his name. They wanted to modernize and change their dress and so on, and he refused to let them do that, and he fired hundreds of teachers for that and dissolved the community. That is a very, very important moment in my life when that happened. The injustice of it all was probably what laid the foundation for my being aware of the injustices toward gay and lesbian youth. In 1984, I was a counselor, and a group of students came in one day at lunch, and they were very upset because a young gay man had been transferred to another school. And what happened was that he had been harassed by other students, and the way the school dealt with that, instead of dealing with the harassers, the school dealt with the situation by transferring him to another school. So these students met with me, and they thought that was so unfair. I saw reflected in them a lot of the things that I had read about gay and lesbian youth, and there was not much literature. So that crystallized in my mind that this was an underserved group of young people in the educational system, and that something should be done about that. And to my good fortune, the principal was very, very supportive. He said, "We're public educators, and our job is to serve all of our students. And if this is an underserved group, which apparently it is from what you're saying, then I think we ought to try and develop some kind of a program." So that was the beginning. As I said, we didn't have a name. We thought, well, what are we going to call ourselves? One of my friends said, well, 10% of the population, according to Kinsey, why don't you call it Project 10? So that's how Project 10 got started. Through Project 10, we tried to educate the personnel within the school district. Little by little, a couple other schools copied the idea. They attached it onto other counseling programs that they had, this idea that there would be an outreach to gay and lesbian youth. Then, in 1988, the principal calls me into the office, and he shows me this little note. And he said, "Someone from Sacramento just sent me this note." And he said, "I think this is the beginning of the backlash that you're going to have." And sure enough, there was an enormous backlash orchestrated by the Traditional Values Coalition. They sent a memo to the Assembly Education Committee. They wanted to stop all of the money coming into the LA Unified School District if we didn't drop this program. So there was big uproar, and they had to have an open hearing, which they had. But through it all, the LA Board of Education stood behind the program. It's hard to believe that that's almost 30 years now, because things right now are so different. It's like, now it's the Renaissance compared to the Dark Ages back then.